tax abatements. The first one is for 701 International Drive. It's being requested by the Port Authority.
I apologize, Eddie. Can I get a copy of the agenda? Do you have a copy of the agenda?
No, it's just
One,
one.
you think?
This one has
I got
details
one.
on it.
Thank you.
You guys have an agenda? You
This
want?
is that same.
This has a little more
Brian,
detail.
you're in charge.
I started to do it, but
He'll give you one right there.
No, you started it. You
No take back.
I'm not sure you do.
Yeah, I
Oh, the Waco
just put the date
practice
on it.
thing.
He can write my, I get to sign my name, so I'll let him do it.
Okay.
I'm in.
Yeah.
All right.
Alright, the first item, like I was saying, is just an application for a CRA tax abatement for 701 International Drive.
Right. Go to the second page, right? The other. There you go.
More
More
detailed
detail.
information on it. It's a new 20,000 square foot spec building they're putting up. 15-year, 100% tax abatement on real property.
This is the Port Authority that is, excuse me. This is the Port Authority that's building this building. It's 20,000 expandable to 40. Is that right, Eddie?
Yeah.
Where is that in conjunction with some of the other buildings out there?
Okay, so you guys remember where we did the joint development agreement with
Yep.
Port Authority and Southgate in the city?
Yep.
Okay, so where the Port Authority is building the building for Mistras on the southeast corner of Kaiser and James.
Okay.
Then to the east of that on Kaiser, you have the aerial building that Southgate built. Okay. So behind that, behind those two, is a stream that flows through. It's a wooded area. You see the tree line through it.
Yeah.
South of that tree line is the 40-acre lot. International Drive is the road that's going to be cut back through that lot as part of the development agreement. This property that Southgate is building will be the first property as you would turn onto International
Okay.
on the right.
Okay. First one on the right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That's a good area, though. That's a good
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be a good area.
Yep.
Yeah. That was this.
All right. Anybody have any questions about that? Debbie? Okay. Moving on.
The second item is another CRA tax abatement for, this one's for Southgate Corporation for 670 Kaiser Drive, which is the new building they're putting up on the northeast corner of the intersection of Kaiser and James Parkway. Again, that was a 15-year, 10% tax abatement.
That's another 20,000 foot.
That one is 40,000.
Oh,
Is
okay.
it 40 or 50?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
I thought they were. I thought they were doing another one of the like Experion. I thought it was 50.
It's the northeast corner, right? The
Yeah,
intersection? That's
across the street from where the
That's 50
Mistras building is
50,000.
currently.
No. 50 to 100, right?
I think it is.
It's 50. They're all the same size, it looked like to me.
50.
I think
They're all
so.
50.
50 able to go to 100.
Yeah.
That's the plan.
Any other questions about that? Yeah?
Good.
The third item on the agenda is the acceptance of the dedication class. We had to obtain a little bit of right-of-way from a private property owner at the end of Green Valley Drive. His name is Brett Minsky. We applied for CDBG money to redo the curb and gutter and the roadway along Green Valley Drive, and in order to do the entire roadway, we had to have a portion of the roadway that was on his property given to us. So this is just accepting that dedication class. This is the actual dedication. It's just a small
right at the dead end of it.
Yeah.
That's where it makes the curve, yeah.
Been paid for how long?
I
It's
know.
been paid for 40 years.
Yeah.
We just have never owned
I didn't know we could just go throwing pavement wherever we want. That's convenient.
Any extra asphalt on Cynthia Street, we can put in my driveway.
Anybody have any questions regarding that item? Yeah, you good?
All about accepting free stuff.
Yeah? I don't have that answer, so probably not. Did Dave write this?
That,
it.
As an ordinance, we'll have to fill that out, you know. Get it
I
recorded. Might not hurt if you could reduce the site and attach one to it. That's the exhibit, it's probably exhibit A or something on the delivery description. Yeah. That way you don't lose the original.
yeah. You good to move on?
We are good, yes.
The fourth item is legislative request to appropriate additional money to help pave the parking lot here on the municipal side of the building as well as the police side of the driveway. Under notes I have on there, there was $45,000 that was budgeted for in this year's budget for that purpose, and the lowest estimate that we received came in at a little over, or a little under 60,000. So we have to appropriate the additional funding.
Hey, Eddie, I want to just check something. When you say 2015 budget, do you mean that $45,000 was put into a line item of your budget, or are you talking about the figure that was listed on the capital improvement planning document?
Another capital improvement
Okay.
plan done.
That money is not appropriated yet.
It's not.
No, no. So what we would need is for the entire amount to be appropriated.
59,800.
That's correct. That's for it to have been included in the budget would have meant that it would have needed to have been included in a line item, somewhere in the budget. The that capital improvement document is a yeah, it's projected. It's a planning document, but that's just to try to give council a heads up as to what type of capital improvement projects we're looking at for the year and what the estimated costs are. The money on that you see on those items, that has not yet been appropriated.
So I'd have to appropriate.
So we need to appropriate the entire amount. That's correct.
So just change it on the.
Change it. Just change both items there, and then, Mayor, are we good with that, though, money-wise, we're okay?
Yeah, we got prices from at least 3, perhaps, was it 4, Eddie, different companies? Yeah, and this one was the lowest.
Who is it?
Net paving
Yeah?
and
Oh.
get that.
And they gave us a cost for the police department. They gave us a cost for this part out here. So this is just a combining
They
of those
broke it
two
down,
amounts.
huh? They
Yeah,
broke it down?
yeah. And then also the water plant
Oh,
also.
okay.
Included in that price?
No, not
No,
this
oh,
price.
okay.
That money will come out of John's budget, from John's committee. But yeah, so this was for, is it milling the entire police?
Yeah, I was gonna mill an inch and a half off, put an inch and a half back, restriping and everything,
Uh-huh.
and then fixing some of the areas with the potholes.
Yeah.
Ours was going to be milled too, on this side too. Yeah.
We're not doing the street.
Really needs it.
No, not the street. We're talking about the parking lot. Now that does include the lane that the police department uses, right?
That's everything from 71 to Parkway.
Okay.
That's the village.
Sorry, item on the agenda.
So we're good, Mayor?
Whole thing need change.
Hold on one second.
We're good coming out of the capital, going over, we're good on that.
Yes.
Was that was on the planning document?
45,000 was the estimated cost on the planning document for that, for this parking lot and the police parking lot. This, Jay, you're talking about the paving that we have running. That's not yet on the agenda. That ordinance has not yet been drawn up.
Oh, 2887? Oh, that's not.
That's something. That's Eddie's next item.
Okay.
Do we have any more questions on this item?
That number's back.
Nobody? Deb,
Eddie's
okay?
fast, but he's not that fast.
You guys are, hold on.
Right along.
He talks so fast, you can't get after it. Slow it down.
He's so loud, you gotta tone him down. Very good bell tones going.
The next item is a legislative request for appropriating $2,887 within the general fund to service repairs and maintenance. Basically, we had the air handler on this side of the building. The shaft and the bearings for it are going bad and need to be replaced. Which we actually did the same work for replacement on the air handler on the police side at the beginning of the year. But now we need to replace that on this side, and then we need to replace one of the motors for the compressor for the pneumatic system that runs to all of the thermostats throughout the building. The right motor went out and completely stopped working.
For the tubes that move the ducts.
Yeah.
How many Band-Aids are we gonna do before we finally
Say,
bite
hey,
the
it's
bullet
enough
on
of
the
this,
big
enough
one
is
here?
enough.
We want to replace the HVAC in the entire building. That'd be,
What was it, 80 grand, 100 grand? I can't remember what it was.
I don't know. I never.
I
Yeah,
can't
I think you're
remember.
right.
Like 80 grand.
It's a
John?
big
Oh, I
chunk of
know,
change.
I'm
Yeah.
just wondering, just,
I've never seen that estimate.
I think John
Somewhere in
had
that
it in
area
there.
sounds right to my memory.
it was a big number and it's embedded in my head, it was about
Yeah.
80 grand. It was, whoa.
How
Yeah.
old is the system?
Old
Original
building.
equipment,
Yeah.
40,
There's a company.
42 years old.
Who is it? Comes up to do the repairs on it. Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, they do a fantastic job and have really helped us
Keep it alive.
get this far with the system. They have helped us identify routine maintenance that helps, and then trying to get on top of things like this before they become major repairs.
All right, we're okay taking out of general fund?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it's got to come from because we got to fill it into the line item in Eddie's budget.
Anybody have any questions? Deb?
I mean, if you're asking me if I'm happy about it, I'm going to tell you no. But
Well,
these
no,
things
I
have got to
didn't
be
that
done
way.
at some point. There's no.
I can send these all day long, but if the
Yeah.
money's not gonna be there, I would prefer not to.
Yeah.
Just copy.
My office is nice and cool, so.
The last item is in ODOT is planning on paving a stretch of State Route 79 in 2018. The stretch that they're going to do in Heath runs between Kaiser Drive and Andover, just south of the median. They sent me preliminary legislation the other day, basically an agreement between the mayor and them, saying that we'll pay for the portion of the project that we have in our city. And shortly after it's paved. But we need to have that back to them by the end of September, so I can get the ball rolling on it. The 3 copies. They sent me, this is the front page, the 3-page preliminary legislation is what it is. That they need us to pass.
How many pages?
3 pages.
Huh?
There's 3 copies there. I need to give them 2 copies of the original, or 2 originals, and I'm assuming we have to keep a copy, or an original for ourselves, so I make 3 different copies of it.
Eddie, what does it mean, ODOT fail date is between April and June 2018?
That's when we plan on basically awarding to contractor.
Okay.
Are they looking at basing this on today's price of asphalt?
I'm assuming they would.
$47 a barrel of oil, or what?
That, I
Padding
don't know,
that, or what are
I'm
you-
assuming they're basing it on tomorrow's cost.
Typically, you'll see the engineers try to do that.
Padded?
It's a guesstimate trying to figure out what the costs are going to be, 2 or 3 years out. But that's typically what they try to do.
These amounts are here based on the estimate that they had the engineers draw up. So whenever the contractor actually bids on it, that'll change. It's just,
Going on 3 years on a volatile commodity like oil is,
Yeah.
you don't want that number to have another 200 grand to it, in 3 years.
Yeah.
How much is it padded?
Well, as we found out with the median project, even when they not just bid it out, but contract it out, change orders happen anyway. Even when you think you know the price of it, you don't really know it. Now, thankfully, in the case of that project, there were deleted things. There were savings made that the city never had to pay any increased cost based on the change orders. ODOT handled those through the money that was saved. But yeah, I mean, even when you think you know what it is, you don't know what it is until it's over.
A few more moving parts with that project than just
Yeah.
mill and pave, or if they
To
want
me,
to stretch it.
to me, that would be primarily about what you've got, because I don't think there's too much of anything tore up along there. So it'd be more or less milling and paving it,
That's-
and striping it.
That's about the
Pretty much
scope
says
of
that
it.
we let them
You
go
know,
ahead
yeah,
and
curbs and
get it already.
Yeah, yeah.
Pay
other
our share.
things,
Next thing they'll be wanting that share
concrete,
eventually.
That's what I was wondering.
stamping, and that kind of
But
stuff.
not-
That share has to be paid in advance before we start. If it comes in under, then we get a refund, so, not a refund, but they give us that, kind of like they did on the 79 project.
Yeah.
Are we earmarking permissive tax for this? Or what are we thinking about?
OPWC, right, Eddie?
Okay.
Well, we'll be applying for OPWC help to cover this. When there's three big OPWC projects that we'll have on the horizon. This will be one of them. This would be a grant that we would be requesting. At about the same time that we'll be putting in the paperwork for this, would we also, Eddie, put in the paperwork for the tank
The tank would be
before?
Next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll be a loan. And then the other one will be the paving of Hopewell Drive, or the intersection there at 13 and Linville. What was the other one?
This year was paving Hopewell. The following year is this one, paving 79 third, be 2018-19. It would be Linville paving and intersection one.
Yeah.
With 13.
Chances are we're not going to get all 3 of those grants. Chances are we get maybe 2 out of 3. So Eddie's been crunching the numbers, trying to figure out be the most advantageous for us to not apply for, based on the dollar amount that the city would have to contribute. But also, I think we should factor in the strength of the projects themselves. Some, I mean, they can change the rules, they can change how these grants are evaluated, but I think they're fairly consistent. At least that's been it seems as though the big factors are still the big factors. So we can take a look at each of those three and kind of in our head guesstimate how each of them would grade out as a grant request. In all likelihood, we're not going to get all three grant requests. That would be, even though the grant requests are graded, there is a human element to it too. And given the competition for these, it seems hard to think that the committee that evaluates these would, give money to Heath 3 times in a row.
When did we last receive money? What PWC? I've never seen
Well,
Sean got it for the Franklin Avenue.
yeah, that would have been this year's paving of Licking View and Franklin, right?
No.
No,
It
we-
was for that water line.
Yeah,
It was for that water line, wasn't it?
John
Permissive use
got it.
to-
Yeah.
John
Last
got
time we
it,
used
John
for
Geller
paving
got it.
was the citywide paving, including Keller Drive.
Yeah. It's been a
Did we get-
while.
Did we get money for Thornwood Drive, repaving? From PWC at all?
It's been a while since we've had one.
I think it
I
has.
think it has.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
if we're asking 3 times, it's because maybe we haven't had any in 3 or 4 or 5 years either.
Yeah.
We could build that case. I gotta think the traffic count on this road, it's gotta be number 1.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
I mean, the point system's always, this traffic counts is numero uno,
Yeah.
paving project.
I'd be
30,
curious,
40,000
I
cars has gotta
would say
rise to the
79
top.
Hopewell probably has the best shot, just based on
Yeah.
many, how many people are benefiting from it.
I think 13, Linda, too, because there's a hell of a lot of traffic there from 6 o'clock in the morning to about 8:30, and then in the afternoon from about 5 to 6:30 or 7. I mean, that's just fun. And they're held up. They're held up when they can't make that turn right.
The
I just thought they drove by to look at your
Yeah,
beautiful
they
place.
just sit in front of his house, don't they?
Yeah. Tourist attraction, Doug. Oh, well, it's maintained.
You're always out there waving at him.
welcome them if they because they're coming down the hill.
And they're cussing because they can't get through the intersection because they're waiting behind somebody.
You're not really waving at them.
All right, anybody have any questions for this? So I mean, once we sign this, we're basically committed to doing that, which it needs, we'll get the funds.
I think that's a no-brainer.
It's not a guarantee. It's never a guarantee till you get it.
Wow, I like
But
our
it's
chances.
pretty high up there.
I like our
I'd say.
chances of this one versus the other 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Certainly traffic count wise, that's the strongest.
The fact that it's a grant, that mitigates my concern about what's the cost of asphalt in 3 years versus today, so.
Anybody have any questions for Eddie?
Down, paving ought to be free.
Yeah.
I have a
Keep
question
thinking that.
Yeah.
for Eddie on the streets. On Lincoln View Drive, before you get to just before you get to the
The reason they
football
raised
field,
raised them. Now it's going down.
there's a rough patch in the road.
Squeeze.
When you hit it,
Use that as an excuse for
I don't know
lying.
if you've noticed that, but I mean, we just paid to get that road.
If
paved.
you're headed from your street toward the football field,
From here, heading back home,
Price fix?
uh,
around the curve, just before you get to the end of the football field, you can even see it in the road. I mean, it's rough. It's doesn't throw you out the car, but I mean, I'm thinking it's a
But
brand
you
new
make
road.
the turn, or before you make the turn?
After-
You made the turn already?
So you've made the bend,
Made
you've
the
got
bend
the
around
parking
high
lot
school,
there for the
just
4
before
acres
the end
there?
of the fence line.
Okay.
Just
Ah.
before the end of the fence line where the road curves back to the right.
Uh-huh.
There's a big, I mean, you can see it, the road, visually see it, I just didn't know.
That fence busted.
It almost looks like it's been
Hey,
patched.
I think there's been an accident there because that fence
That
looks
fence
like
is-
it's been
it's insane.
tore up, man.
No, but this is,
I think there's been an accident there.
I'd have to look at it. To be honest with you, since the teeth don't rattle out of my head anymore when I'm driving down that road, I really haven't noticed it.
I mean, they did a good job, but I'm still looking at going, this is the first piece that's gonna deteriorate, because it is, you can see it, you can feel it, it's probably 12 to 15 foot long, it's as
That's
wide
what it
as the
was.
far lane, but it's in the lane against the river, going back towards, would be the,
Did you see the
I'll,
fence?
I'll try to pay attention to
No,
that.
The
I've
fence
never,
was torn up like
I've not noticed it.
something into it or something. Like it was a wreck or something.
this almost looks like it's been patched back.
Oh,
Yeah.
Or finished, you know, for the.
Yeah.
It took me 2 or 3 times to drive over there and found it. I had something called it.
Yeah.
Do you know
Yeah.
where I'm talking about?
What?
Yeah, check that out,
Say something, Bob gonna be here tonight? Say something, Bob.
Yeah,
And-
he
and
should
the
be here
police
tonight, I
department
think.
will Check it out.
Could have been,
And then they just paved over.
it's rough. I don't know, just thought I'd done. I guess the other thing I have too is, and maybe this is not, I talked about it, I had suggested, nothing that you've done wrong, Eddie, we appreciate the proficiency, but we talked about possibly switching, I talked about possibly switching fire and community development zoning, switching Mondays. Usually your meetings don't last that long, and it's not that we don't mind being here, but we have this big gap in between, so I suggested that maybe we switch the 2 meetings. I don't know how anybody else feels about that. I know Jeff and I discussed it a little bit. It made sense to me. But I didn't
It's a
have-
better fit, it seems like, with time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll have a big gap on it.
I don't know how you feel.
It made sense. So I thought that'd be a good idea.
Is it written anywhere in the charter or anything?
No,
You have to do
no,
it?
we can change it however we want to, as long as we just advertise that, what meetings when. and everything.
I mean, we move meetings around, the company Bob Geller with streets and
Yeah.
parks.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
used to be different, so.
Yeah,
They're
there's
supposed to
no.
make an announcement, so.
Yeah, all we do is change, everything, so.
I didn't know how
I mean,
everybody
next,
felt about
so,
it.
I mean, if we wanna do it, we'd wait till next month, you would be the second Monday, and police and fire would go to first Monday. Now, the other thing is, we gotta make sure that police and fire move
The sign
along,
gets changed down
you
there.
know.
The sign, too.
Well, I don't know, I'll find out. First of all, I just
Yeah,
want
we
to ask
have to,
council
yeah.
how they felt about that, the mayor
Good idea.
and president, and see what everybody thought about it. It just,
I'm fine with that.
I think it's a good idea.
well, I'll check with the chiefs, and then I'll just follow up with you.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything for community development Zoom? All right, we'll adjourn at 5:59.
All right, let's run right into finance then. Does everybody have a copy of this?
Nope.
Or- Nobody has a copy of
I
it.
had them over there.
I do.
Before you
I have one,
get
Jake.
started, I got a text from Cletus.
You got one?
He's gonna be in room 332, and they're gonna keep him out.
Oh.
Really?
Licking Memorial?
They're running tests,
Where at?
Mount Carmel East.
Yeah, they
Wait for
Still
Noah.
having that.
I'm sorry, Jim, what was that room number again?
332.
Okay.
I haven't even did that. Okay, that's pretty good. Whatever this is.
Please.
Do I have your
I
legislative
just heard it.
request?
I don't know what's going
What's your legislative request?
on. No, son, I'm ready for it.
Got a bunch of them.
Right on. Oh, I did one more. I purchased orders, and now I did one again.
Got a lot to add to our agenda. Get that on those two.
All right,
Our 2-minute meetings are over.
this one.
Okay, I'm ready, sir.
All right, 6:01, we'll call finance to order. So first item, appropriate 2,887 from the general fund to service for building repairs and maintenance that was discussed.
It's right here.
It's for the AC, right? We just covered, right?
Yes, the one you just covered.
Brian, any other comments?
That,
Committee of you and I?
Yep, that'd be us, yep.
Okay.
Try to get along, it'll be fine.
Second item, ordinance establishing $15 activation fee for activation of a new account for water, sewer.
That came out of service last week.
Came out of the service department. $15 activation fee for new account. Activation is defined as any instance of an account being established by an individual or entity. This fee shall apply to all customers unless, one, the activation is being performed for the sole purpose of automatically transferring the service to the property owner's name, where there is a prearrangement made between the city and the property owner. Did that get changed at all? The wording on that?
I don't know if they changed it or not. I know that somebody suggested that they did.
Oh,
Tim,
that's
didn't
the
you
one that
talk
was
about-
handed to me.
Didn't you talk
from the
about this
meeting.
being a little confusing, the wording of this?
Mayor, didn't you talk to, Mr. Morrison
Here's
today
the one-
about
here's-
this?
Yeah, John and I were on a call with David earlier today, and he has the ordinance. He has what he needs for the ordinance on this now, and he's clear as to how it needs to
But
be.
no language needed changed that you're aware of.
That's correct.
So what we were given is the way it is?
Yes,
Okay.
yeah. As John Geller eloquently said, that line was drawn up by an attorney, so I figured David would be able to read legalese. So, yeah, David was, last week David was wanting some additional information from the municipalities that were used as the example for this. And John got that to him on Friday, so I talked to him today. He didn't have any questions.
Mr. Morrow, anything else to add, coming to your committee? No? Nothing else?
All that's said.
Third item, ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into contract with the Director of Transportation for surfacing and related work on State Route 79 between Andover Road and Kaiser Drive within the city of Heath. We just discussed that. Brian, any other comments?
Nothing.
Deb?
Good.
Fourth item, appropriate $59,852.70 within the capital improvement fund, paving, resurfacing, and pave the administration building and police station parking lots. Any other comments? Next item, ordinance to accept the dedication of .136 acres of land at the end of Green Valley Drive. Brian?
Nothing.
Deb? Next one, an ordinance approving the CRA tax abatement for Southgate Company Limited Partnership. That's at 670 Kaiser Drive.
Yes. That's correct.
Any other comments? finally, an ordinance approving CRA tax abatement to the Heath, North Lincoln County Port Authority. And that's at International Drive, correct? We don't have a number established for that. 701 International Drive. Any comments?
Yeah, there's
No
a
other,
Jake for me.
no other legislation.
Jeff? Did I miss the one for the state of Ohio, ODOT?
No, that was the first one you did,
Okay.
20%, 79, and over to,
First one you did, I thought was appropriate to
It was the
start
third
with
one.
the HVAC system.
Third one,
Okay, I missed it, sorry.
yeah,
not on the agenda.
Right.
The first one
the
that's not
first one
on
that
the
he
agenda.
said.
Okay.
Other items? Okay.
Other items, is this a new one?
Yeah, Denise, Denise,
Is it different than this one?
just provided that, yeah, it's updated as of today. Totals in the upper right-hand corner.
Well, I'll pass those out then. The other items, we've been working on the Oktoberfest, as Mayor and I have talked in the past, and we asked last Tuesday night for them to present us with a budget, a preliminary budget to get started with. I have one, the one I printed you off is now updated, so.
You got extra copies?
Yeah, I'm sure I can.
Or, you got one?
That's a new one, updated. You'll get one, Ed.
Okay. So this is the first time I've seen the other one, so we'll go through here and.
We want to give,
I was gonna say, if
these
you guys
folks a
wanna.
chance, if you guys have prepared this budget. Denise, you want to take a couple minutes and give us a highlight on?
Yes.
Do you have a copy of it in front of you, or do you need a copy? It might help you.
Yeah.
Especially since it's amended here.
These are just some estimate event projections of this event, and it is our first one. So, as you can see under event operations, there are tent rental, tables and chairs, and portable restrooms, and that includes 2 men and 2 women. We're projecting 1,000 people possibly to attend the event. So, and also a handicap restroom, so it'll be a total of 5 there. Decorations, marketing and social media, signage, advertising.
Denise, and I'm sorry, refresh my memory. The signage under there, are those the signs that would be displayed at the event for the
Banners.
various corporate sponsors
Yes,
and
the
stuff that are?
banners.
Okay.
Um,
And the advertising figure, could you give us a rough idea of
Okay.
what that consists of?
Radio usually is $1,500. A billboard, 500. So that's what I was looking at, and if we do any other type of advertising.
Okay. Radio, you said is normally 15.
Mhm.
Billboard.
500.
You got some advertising revenue projections on this as well?
No. As far as more, I'm not sure of all that we want, how we want to advertise. As far as newspaper, I did not get the projections for newspaper.
I'm not sure how effective print newspaper advertising is.
The revenue from
The corporate sponsors, is that what you're asking?
corporate sponsors. Is there,
I'm not quite sure I understand what you're asking, Jeff.
Are we having corporate sponsors around to generate revenue?
The city would cover the expenses for the event. And the Arts Council would use the revenue for its fundraising efforts for the event.
Okay.
So if they can get $100,000 in corporate sponsorship for the event, great. If they get $1,000 in corporate sponsorship for the event, it's on them.
Just usually see the budget with revenue and expenses on it, that's all.
Well, this isn't a budget. This is a projection of expenses. The and we'll see what we can do on these as we're working on it. Let me call the radio station, see what we can do.
Well, like the mayor said before,
And,
Jeff, it's kind of like what we did for the other things we did. We didn't have any generated income from like the
Parade, the
and
50th.
yeah, we just had our expenses.
I understand. Just
Yeah.
trying to incorporate all the sides of this.
Now, Denise, can you describe for me, and I'm not trying to nitpick, I'm just trying to get the details here, and I maybe should have tried to slide over to your office earlier today, and I apologize. The tent rental, how many tents is that?
That is, Michelle gave me that information, it's about 4 tents.
Okay. Michelle from,
Robertson.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, I think her projection.
4 tents?
There's gonna be a, we're planning on having a beer garden style tables and chairs and such in the lawn area inside the wrought iron fence area. So that would be the tenting over that area. Is there a cost breakdown, or is it included in the alcohol, the cost of a liquor license? Is it included anywhere in these numbers?
The liquor license, we use our license, but the insurance came off of here, but that
Is that the thing from Tom Medke, the information?
The liquor liability insurance is $1,000.
Is that 1,000? All right, so should we add that under the beer garden area?
Oh, it's not on the new one? It's
No.
on the old one.
Yeah.
No.
That's all right. I'm here to catch these things.
How did the cost of alcohol go up 150%?
Well, that was just, Homestead is what we had, Homestead's the only cost that we had before. So that's the only thing that we had, and again, that's an estimate. This would then include this would include the 3 brands from Matesic as well, right? Okay. And then,
They're all German beers, or is there going to be an American?
no,
American Chestnut?
the idea, Homestead talked about doing having their Oktoberfest style available. And also Adam mentioned maybe doing a Pilsner as well. And then Matesic would have like your Budweiser, your, some more national brands. So,
That's all he
Cheap and
needed.
Messicato.
That's all he needed.
okay. So yeah, that includes those other kinds as well.
No.
The bands, do we feel that's a pretty solid number? Because I know you've been in contact with them. And,
The wristbands.
no, the entertainment, the
Oh, yes.
bands.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, the wristbands, what we'll do is be putting wristbands on people that are able to consume alcohol and no wristbands on those that are underage.
Don't use the ones left over from the Star Spangled Celebration, because there's no glue on them.
Is that
I tried to
right?
use them with the inflatables. I started out covering for them before they got there, and I'm like, okay, none of these work. They got
Really?
moist.
Oh,
So-
yeah.
So definitely don't try to use those.
You have a question, well.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry, I didn't see you back
I don't,
there. Sorry.
I don't quite understand, are we paying alcohol $2,500? Are we paying them to come and set up to sell their product?
In order to sell, you have to buy it. The selling would be done by the Arts Council. So you have to buy the alcohol initially to sell it. The alcohol would be in kegs.
Okay. But wouldn't that be a self-funding thing? That, you know, surely we're gonna sell it for more than we pay for it.
We would hope that would generate revenue.
So this is,
For the Arts Council, we would hope that would generate revenue. Yeah, I'm with you, that it seems hard to imagine that you would lose money on that venture.
Keg, you're gonna make a profit.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to say, what was Adam?
70 cents?
Yeah, about 70 or 80 cents a cup. Be about what our cost would be for it.
I'm still kind of at a loss. We're buying the beer and they're gonna sell it and give the money to the Arts Council.
Yeah, the idea would be is that the city would pay the expenses for the event, or most of the expenses for the event. The Arts Council would keep revenue made from food sales, from beer sales, from any kind of sponsorship or anything that they're able to obtain, donations.
So we're buying the food too, and
No, the food vendors will be providing their food.
And they're
We've
gonna
got-
get 10%. They're not gonna get all the money from that.
Yeah, we've got 4 or 5 different food vendors. I think it is.
but they
All
get,
right, 5.
Five.
Yeah, thanks.
they get 100% of the alcohol. Is that what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The food vendors, they'll be covering the cost of their own food, and then for every dollar that they would make, the Arts Council would get 10 cents. The Arts Council would get 10%
That's what I
of
understood.
whatever.
I just didn't understand, I guess, why it wouldn't be like that with the alcohol.
Well, that's not anything that we discussed doing.
Sure so.
They were saying
Think
we
they
were getting the
did.
keg, I mean, you still had to purchase the kegs to have them there.
Yeah.
I'd sure like to get more than 10% on selling the beer.
No, it's
No,
not.
no.
Not
10%
Food.
on the food.
I know, but I think that's what he was thinking. Am I right or correct?
No,
Ron?
I don't see why we would handle the alcohol different from the food.
He doesn't know why we buy the alcohol.
Oh.
That's what he's saying.
That's tax.
That's an estimate, because we don't know that Matesic might say, as part of our sponsorship, we pull in with a truck.
Yeah.
This isn't in stone, and that would be a wonderful thing, along with a $25,000 check.
You know, the cost of the alcohol. The cost of the alcohol could be $1,432, and their sponsorship of the event could be $1,432. Could be. That hasn't been worked out with them yet, to my knowledge. Is that?
I mean, these are very preliminary numbers. A lot of these numbers
Yes.
can be very much in flux, and like
Yeah.
you say,
But we have to
The-
have something to be able to
the-
have legislation to have the money available,
Yeah.
so.
Right. The idea is that at the meeting 2 weeks from now, we should have a much more firm number and a legislative request for that appropriation of that amount. We'd have first reading, of that night in 2 weeks. We would have second reading of it whenever the first meeting in September is, and vote on it.
It's the 8th, it's the Tuesday, it's the
Oh, that's
Monday
right,
after
we've got
Labor
Labor Day, yeah, so it would be Tuesday the 8th. The council would vote on it, and then, obviously with its hopeful passage, then that money is sitting aside, ready to handle the invoices that come in with this. As Deb said, very similar to how we handle the parade, how we handled the 50th. You know, the money was appropriated based on some cost estimates that were thought of by the organizers of the event, and then when the actual invoices came in, we were able to get a breakdown that said, okay, well, here's how much was appropriated, but here's how much we actually spent, and you know, broke down what those costs were for those items.
And this is in fact coming out of the bed tax.
It would come out of the general fund, but yeah, obviously the bed tax goes into the general fund, so that would be the source of the revenue. Yeah.
What's the date, time again of the function?
September 26th, from 3 to 10.
High State plays at home.
Yep. I'm still thinking that it's at 12 o'clock.
Yeah,
but I'm
they
not
play
sure.
Western Michigan. We're still waiting on that confirmed start kickoff time.
Alright.
Yeah, and they play 3:30 the week before against Northern Illinois, so I think that would be a noon.
It's 3 to 10.
3 to 10. Yep. Just to kind of update you guys, I talked about this maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, but the committee's meeting now on a weekly basis. That's working to organize this. We've got a commitment from the Heath School's vocal music program to participate. We got a commitment that we were really excited about from the Newark Menacor to participate. They're going to be a food vendor as well as a entertainment. So, you know, if you want to come see Jeff sing.
And you won't. I won't be in lederhosen yet.
You won't have your lederhosen on?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sorry to disappoint you, sir. I'm
um,
gonna be out pushing pretzels, soft pretzels, though.
That's
Right.
so,
9:30.
there's 1 or 2 kind of, you know, I'll call it, type, you know, musical acts, and then we have the band that performed at the Star Spangled Celebration the past 2 years, the Black Horse. We'll play from what, 8 to 10?
Yes, the strolling musician, I got
Oh, okay. So we've also got
5
interest
food
from.
vendors.
I'm
Yeah,
sorry, what?
5 food vendors.
Yeah, we've got 5 food
They
vendors.
are to have a German something. They're coming up. They're all working together. That they're going to have a little. If it's
Bahama Mom.
a Bahama Mama, then they're going to have. You can go and when you buy your food ticket, you can buy a ticket. They can judge on that one. They'll eat. All 5 can have their own thing, but the one idea that they come up with, they'll be judged on. So that'll kind of be fun. And we're hoping to get sponsors, corporate sponsors that will, we joked about it, but do a cake throwing or, you know, something that all the corporate sponsors might have a battle with to bring people in. So sorry I cut.
No, that's fine. We've also got commitment from a couple of the from the middle school and from Garfield. Heard back from those teachers. They're very interested in providing art exhibits for the event. Kicked around, and the middle school teacher, you know, actually said, rather than her defining what it is, she wants the first week of school, she wants to have her students, you know, look at, you know, some German themed things to do and to come up with the idea themselves. So we've also talked about the idea of having a cultural passport, for lack of a better term, and it would be used at this event and other certainly, hopefully, city-sponsored events, if not other events that the Arts Council does on its own. But the idea would be is that kids in Heath would be able to get this passport book, and if they come to the event and they do this or they do that, they can get their passport book stamped here, they can get their passport book stamped there. So, trying to, in a way, provide a bit of an educational experience as well for the kids that are attending these events. There's a good group of people working on this event. I think I said it before, but I gotta say it again. I'm really impressed by the thought that's going into this, by the effort that's going into this. It's the first time that we've tried to do something like this. We're trying to, well, I think we are effectively pricing it so that it can have broad appeal for, people in the community and beyond. And the folks that are working on this, the guys from the Indian Mountain Mall. It's great having the Metacore on board now, and it's been tremendous to see the interaction that's taking place during these meetings, and the creative thought and the desire to have this be a successful event.
We're in the process of that. The mall's going to allow us to use their lot.
Okay.
We're going to have parking around the Shea House itself.
Okay.
We're in the process of talking about how we get people from the mall.
All over to Shan. Do that. Christmas. Park the cars.
Oh, well, I mean, it's now being used by business, which is a good thing.
Oh, yeah, I know. I know that. I know that.
The Rural King has got,
Yeah, I know.
So, when we met last week, knowing, again, the timing sequence of appropriating the money or whatever, we thought it would be good to, come to council and share this information, kind of give you more than just a 30,000-foot view of what's going on. Deb, I think you've been to one or two of the
I
meetings.
just made this list. I'm gonna try to be there for as many as I can. I'll be there tomorrow night, and
Yeah.
I
You
came
don't have
in the
any
middle,
arts
so
and
I have a
crafts
better
going on
understanding
tomorrow
after
night?
leaving. Huh?
Arts and crafts.
No arts and crafts tomorrow night. You was impressed, weren't you?
I
My
was.
arts and crafts.
That
Yeah,
was really good.
I did well.
You did.
Yeah.
plan on being there again
It
tomorrow.
looked like a Molotov cocktail, but I trust that it's safer than that.
Yeah, I hope so. I haven't lit it yet, so we'll see.
You can't get jumped.
Do it
over the
outside.
bush.
Yeah, do it out in the driveway.
Jeff, go out in the yard and light this. I'll be out in a minute. Yeah.
So anyway, again, we hope to have something more concrete for you, but we want to, again, the idea is we want to try to get the most bang we can for our buck, to utilize the revenue from the bed tax to pay the invoices for the expenses on what we hope will be a nice event this year, and perhaps one then that we grow off of for years to come.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I don't know if you all know Denise and Elisa. Have you all? So these are our great employees. I mean, really hanging in there, doing. We're down to just skeleton crew with these two and Craig White and our part-time volunteer coordinator. That's all the employees we have at this point. they do an outstanding job. They really do. I mean, I just can't say enough good about them. Hope they'll hang in with us till we can get things situated. I was gonna do a financial projection kind of thing, but I've decided that maybe hold off till after the Oktoberfest to see where we are. Like Deb and I discussed, we're cautiously optimistic, and hope this will turn things around. But if any of you want an up-to-date financial, feel free to call any of the three of us. We can meet you at the house. You can go talk to Elisa. She's pretty much got the computer down now. She can operate the smart board. She can twerp and tweak and all that kind of stuff. So we have big presence on Facebook.
How do you
Twitter.
Well, what's the word?
I don't know. I don't know.
Twitter.
I don't know.
I think we need a censor.
And Denise has been really breaking herself to death, going out to meet people, to really network. She's been to the Works this week and network. The Works wants to do something with us. The Arboretum wants to do something with Oktoberfest. So she's really a great gal to network and pull people together. So very proud of both of them. But just call me if you have any questions about the financial end of it or either one of them. Thanks, Jeff. That's all I have to say.
Any other comments? We just want to get this site, we're not blindsided 2 weeks from now with, here it is, and here's legislation, and boom, and obviously this is gonna get tightened up a little bit, over the next 2 weeks as well. So it's already been tightened up in a few days. Anything else for finance, Jay?
That's all I have.
Okay, we will adjourn at 6:33.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Information.
You can make it.
Well,
he's back for it here,
for,
I hit the wall,
You'll
the
probably
bank
smell
for
it. You'll probably smell it.
You doing
trading voicemails.
Might as well. You guys wanna do caucus real quick? Need a break, Doug, or can we do caucus? Okay. Mr. Morrow, you're gonna do the invocation.
Yeah.
From last week.
All right. You also will do the delinquent accounts.
Yes.
All right.
Oh, you want me to see if I?
You will
I mean, I
also
don't-
do, no.
want to do it.
You're just telling me what to do.
I'll see what I can do.
Introduction of ordinances, the voting one, do we need to like expedite that so it gets repaired? Eddie, the repair of the building, the AC, you want us to waive that so we get that fixed?
Yeah,
Okay.
they do this.
Uh,
I started, before I said that,
Who did
I
so?
wasn't even sure
You
that
want
they had a car. I think that's really, they said they
or finance, you wanna do it from finance or you wanna do it in? You did the thing tonight, so why don't you just do it? Brian will
Came
do
out of your,
Yeah,
vice chair of the committee, so he can.
it.
And that's in New Hampshire where.
So we'll waive that one. The mileage reimbursement, that can wait.
We don't hold that one.